This is the official start of class. I'm supposed to say that. So here our class is starting. Go ahead and sit in swastikasana with your feet pulled back close to the blankets that you're sitting on. Hello, Guthrie. And turn the soles of the feet up toward the ceiling with your hands. And you can do that kind of in two stages. Put your thumbs on the big toe base joint and turn your foot. And then if you move your thumb just a little bit to that space between the big toe base joint and the other base joints and move your fingers more into the top of the foot, you really get further onto the top of the foot. And then use your hands and turn your calf flesh up toward the ceiling and squeeze your thighs, one thigh, and turn it from the inside out and work down the thigh in 3 or 4 stages so you really get that full external rotation of the leg. And do the same thing on the other side. And you should feel that that draws the sitting bones in, and you should feel a lift come all the way up into the chest. And press the tops of the feet down into the floor and energetically lift your ankles up. And again, you should feel firmness in the hips and more of a lift coming into the chest. Lengthen up through your side ribs and roll your shoulder bones back. Bring your shoulder blades in, away from the neck and into the center of the body and up a little bit. So again, you should feel the chest get well lifted and broad. Then fold your palms together at your heart. Push your thumbs into your sternum and then lift your sternum up against that pressure of the thumbs. And as you do that, you should feel the trapezius release down away from the neck again. Use your forearms and lift the whole rib cage up, and you should feel some broadness come into the collarbones. And let your trapezius muscles release away from the neck again. And having made all of those external postural adjustments, close your eyes and turn your awareness to your breath. As you inhale, make yourself taller from the tailbone all the way up through the head. Keep that height, and as you exhale, move the prana, or the energy of the breath, outward toward your side ribs and armpits. Inhale, make yourself tall. Keep that height. Exhale, make yourself broad. Inhale, extend yourself. Exhale, expand yourself. Use the breath to create an additional sense of inner spaciousness so that the inner spaciousness matches the external space that or structure that you've created with the postural adjustments. Then turn your awareness more to the exhalation itself. Use the exhalation like it's a pathway or a thread that you can follow from the outer world toward the inner world, that inner landscape of you, the domain of yoga. Your exhalations to take your awareness there. And then from that space within, let's chant 3 Ms together. Om. Follow that sound with your mind. Follow the reverberation of the sound with your mind. And then from that space, inhale once more. Keep your chest well lifted and broad and bring your chin down to your chest and your hands down to your thighs with your palms up. And then raise your head and open your eyes. Go ahead and keep your legs in swastikasana. Stretch your arms out in front of you and then reach your arms up into Urdhva Hastasana. And as you reach the arms up, you should feel that there's more length coming into the side ribs, but let your trapezius muscles release away from the neck. Go ahead and bring your arms down for a second and get a brick. And put a brick off to one side of your body. And reach your arms up again. All right, this time you're going to take your right wrist with your left hand, and you're going to pull up. So you're actually using the other hand to get additional length in that side of the torso. But let your trapezius release. Then tip over a little bit, so you're actually stretching even more that whole right side of your body. And you should feel the stretch from that base of the pelvis, through the side rib, through the armpit, all the way up through the fingers. Make yourself tall. All right, then keep that height on this side of the body and take your hand and put it on the brick. Turn your torso toward the screen and then reach and extend the hand out with the hand on the brick. So hopefully you're getting extension on both sides of the torso. All right, then keep that extension on the sides of the torso as you bring yourself up and turn toward the left. Keep your head more or less even with the middle of the chest at first. As you inhale, press down from the feet and up through the ankles and extend all the way up from the tailbone through the head. Put your hand also on your outer knee to begin with your palm down. And then as you exhale, turn and rotate your torso around. First, focusing the rotation on the pelvic region. And then as you exhale again, you can focus on the rib cage region. Exhale again, keep your collarbones broad. And then your head, the last thing that you do. And then after you've turned your head, you may be able to coax just a little bit more turn out of the torso. Now, as you come back to the center, push down with your hand on your knee and down with your hand on the blanket and lift yourself up as you come all the way back to the center. Hey, Pratima, welcome. And then switch the brick to the other side. Okay. Reach both hands up at first. Turn your triceps from the outside in, but let your trapezius muscles release away from the neck. Okay. Then to get more extension through this left side of your body, hold on to the left wrist with your right hand and first pull straight up. Now, as you're pulling up and creating length, keep some of your awareness on your shoulder blade, the top shoulder blade, and it should release down away from the neck. Now, when you tip over, you actually have the opportunity to get even longer through that side rib. So keep pulling as you're reaching to the side, like you're creating a Parsvakonasana action in the top of your body. Maintain as much length as you can on that top left side of the body. Put your other hand on the brick on the opposite side. First, turn your torso toward the screen, and then slide out with your hand on that brick. So hopefully you're getting maximal length in both sides of the torso. All right, and then come all the way back up and then swing your hands around to the opposite side and put your hand on the outside of your knee first. Roll the shoulders back, and as you inhale, start at the base and press down with your feet and energetically lift your ankles up. Lift all the way up from the tailbone, all the way up through the head, and then exhale, turn and rotate yourself around. On your first exhalation, focus on your pelvic region and turn from that left pelvic bone to the right. As you exhale again, see if you can get a little bit more turn out of the stiffness of the thoracic spine. Exhale again, keep your collarbones broad, then turn your head. And after you've turned your head, see if you can just coax one more little bit of twist out of the spine. And when you come back to the center, push down with both hands so you actually get taller as you bring yourself all the way back to the center. Right, then stretch your legs out into Dandasana, staff pose. Join your big toes together and spread your other toes wide apart. Lift up from the little toe side of the foot into the outer hip so your outer hips get firm, and you should feel a lift coming into your chest. Spread your palms well and put your whole palm down on the floor behind on the outside of your hips. Push down with your hands and lift up into the armpits. And roll your shoulder bones back. Your shoulder blades go in, away from the neck, and into the center of the body and up a little bit. So you feel that same lift coming into the chest. Then switch the cross of your legs and let's do the opposite, same thing on the opposite side. Okay, so this time when you stretch your arms out first, interlace your fingers and turn your palms toward me. Okay. Extend from the elbows through the wrist bones. Let your trapezius muscles release as you reach your arms up into Parvatasana and Swastikasana. Push the tops of the feet down, energetically lift up from the ankles to the tailbone, all the way up through the wrist, but let your trapezius release away from the neck. Yeah. And notice which finger you have on top. Release your hands and then swing your hands over to the first side, and now put your hand on the middle of your thigh. Roll both of your shoulders back. Inhale, lift up from the tailbone through the head, and as you exhale, turn and rotate. Now, what I notice when I've changed my hand position is that I more readily feel the twist coming into the thoracic spine. There's still turn happening in the lower part of the spine, but I feel just by moving the position of the hand that little bit up the thigh that I'm more able to access the thickness in the thoracic spine. That may or may not be true for you. All right, inhale, lift up from the tailbone through the head, and then exhale, turn and rotate yourself around. Lengthen up from the tailbone through the head, exhale, turn and rotate, then turn your head and turn a little bit more. Push down with both hands as you come all the way back to the center, make yourself taller. Stretch your arms out and interlace your fingers and turn your palms toward me. Extend from the elbows through the wrist bones and let your trapezius release away from the neck. Keeping your arms as straight as possible, reach your hands all the way up toward the ceiling. Push the feet down and energetically lift the ankles up and continue that lift all the way up through the wrists. It's looking pretty good, everyone. Make yourself tall and feel your armpits open. Right. Then swing your arms around and put your hand on the outside of the thigh. Inhale, lengthen up from the tailbone, middle of the thigh. Lengthen up from the tailbone through the head. And as you exhale, turn and rotate yourself around. Inhale, lengthen up and make yourself tall. Exhale, turn and rotate. One more time, inhale, lift up and make yourself tall. Exhale, turn and rotate yourself around. And push it, turn your head, I forgot to say that. Turn a little bit more. And come all the way back to the center, keeping as much height as you can out of the turn as possible. All right, then stretch your legs out into Dandasana again for a staff pose. Join your big toes together. Spread your other toes away from your big toes as much as you can. I'm noticing today that my little toe on the right side is not wanting to move quite as much, so I'm just giving it a little bit more attention and time to open. Then from the little toe side of the foot, draw up into the outer hips. Lengthen through the side ribs and roll your shoulder bones back. Pay attention to your shoulder blades and they move in, away from the neck and into the center of the body and up a little bit. So you really feel that chest get nice and lifted and broad. And spread your palms, put your hands on the floor beside your hips. Push down with your hands and lengthen up into the armpits and move your shoulder blades in, down, and in and up to the center of the body again. All right, then take your right hand on the inside of your right knee and move your leg up into Baddha Konasana. And you can use your hand to make the same flesh adjustments that you did on the Swastikasana work. And then bring your opposite leg into Baddha Konasana. I'm sitting up on a couple of blankets myself. You may need a little bit more height sitting in Baddha Konasana. But press the sole of the heel and the sole of the foot, sorry, ball of the foot and the heel strongly together. And as you do that, you should feel that your femur bones draw in a little bit more and you begin to get some length coming into the inner groin. Right, then stretch your legs out into Dandasana again. Engage your legs in Dandasana. Press your palms well, lift up into the side ribs and make your chest be as well lifted and broad as you can. Take your opposite hand on the inside of the knee and pull the leg in. Then do the same thing on the other side. This time we're going to work the Baddha Konasana by opening the sole of the foot. So you may need to lean a little bit forward to reach your feet. But put the thumbs on the ball of the foot and your fingers on the top of the foot. And really work to open the sole of the foot as much as possible. Keep the little toe side of the foot together and push that little toe side of the foot very firmly against each other so you get that firmness in the femur bones. But really use your hands to open the feet to help get more opening in the groin. Then you can move your thumbs to your big toe base joint and see if you can get even still a little bit more opening in your feet. Try and keep that as you sit back upright if you lean forward. Put your fingertips behind you on the floor for support and lengthen up from that pelvis all the way up into the armpits again. And place your hands on the outside of your knee and stretch your legs out straight into Dandasana. And then bring your legs out into Upavishtakonasana, seated wide angle pose. I'm not on any height now. In Upavishtakonasana, I don't need it. So just depending on whatever seated position you're working on, you may need to adjust the height that you use so you can really feel that length coming into the side ribs and a lift coming into the chest. Lengthen up again, put your hands back behind you at first, spread your palms well, push down with your hands and lengthen up through your side ribs and let the neck release, the trapezius release away from the neck. All right, reach your arms up into Urdhva Hastasana again. Turn your triceps from the inside out and swing your hands around to the front, left hand, one hand in front, the other hand in back. I'm turning to my right. You can either choose to mirror me or do the same side. Lengthen up from the tailbone through the head. And as you exhale, turn and rotate as much as you can toward the right leg. And you really fit, and particularly rotate from that left pelvic bone to the right. And now you're really turned. And stay as turned as you can and reach your opposite hand and get your big toe if you can. If you can't get your big toe, you can put a strap on your foot and hold the strap, or you could just hold wherever you can reach. All right, now remember way back in Swastika Nasikasana when we stretch the side of the arm up. Okay, so do that here. You're reaching and stretching the side, the right arm from that pelvis all the way up through the rib cage to the armpit. Now make it like you're stretching out with the brick. Make that lower side of your torso as long as possible. So I'm gonna hold on to my big toe to do that, and I'm lifting up on both sides from the pelvic bone through the armpits. And then go ahead and bring your top hand back down behind you and just see if you can turn a little tiny bit more away from the foot that you're holding. All right, and then come back to the center. Reach both of your arms up, check back in and make sure you're really working with the muscles of your legs and that they're well engaged. And swing your arms down and put one hand in front and the other hand behind. Really draw up from the little toes into the outer hips. Lengthen up from the tailbone through the head. And as you exhale, turn and rotate yourself around. Inhale, lengthen up and turn. Exhale, turn and rotate. Now stay as turned as you can to your left leg as you reach and get your right big toe, if you can reach it. If you can't, just hold on wherever you can on your leg, or you can put a strap around your foot, either one. Now, proactively lengthen through this side of your torso now, okay? And then add your arm, okay? Extend from that pelvic bone through the rib cage, through the armpits, all the way up into the fingers turn. Then match that extension on the lower side of your body as well. And then stay as turned as you can to the screen and bring your opposite hand back behind you and see if you can, with your hand, just coax a little bit more turn out of your torso. All right, and then come all the way back to the center. And then go ahead and come onto your hands and your knees. Getting ready to do Adho Mukha Svanasana. Spread your palms. And you're welcome to do the little trick that I learned from the Abhijata last workshop is lift your hand off of the floor a little bit, and then your hand's in the air element, and you actually can spread it more and put the hand down. You can observe the difference between doing that and not doing that. So I might not instruct that every single time, but you're welcome to do it, okay? And it really does, it's just remarkable to me how much it extends through the fingers. And then turn your toes under and push back into downward facing dog. Push your hands down and forward to pull the weight of the pose back into your legs. So we did a lot of twisting while we were sitting in that first part of class. And so that should facilitate the extension of the spine. Backward, okay, or up and back, let's say. And come up onto the balls of the feet really, really high. Lift your quadriceps and lift your inner thighs. And then roll over the balls of the feet and reach back through the arches, reach back through the heels, and use those muscles of the legs to pull yourself more deeply into downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. All right, then walk forward till your feet are right underneath your hips. Place your hands on your pelvic bones. Roll your shoulder bones back and come all the way up. And stand in Tadasana, mountain pose. Basically, we're going to do a lot of those same actions that we worked on sitting while we're standing. And then go ahead and stand in Tadasana. Just like Dandasana, join your big toes together, but spread your other toes away from your big toes. Lift up through the quadriceps and the inner thighs. Move your buttocks down toward your heels. You have to do that a little bit more in Tadasana than Dandasana. And then feel the lift, hopefully a little bit of a Uddiyana lift coming into the front of the pelvis, or the abdomen actually. Extend through your ring fingers. Okay, here you are in Tadasana, and then reach your arms all the way up into Urdhva Hastasana. Keep your leg action strong. Hold on to your left wrist with your right hand and just tip over a little bit to the side, even standing in Tadasana. And when you tip over, it's not just tipping. Okay? I push down through that bottom heel and really keep reaching and pulling with that opposite wrist. So I feel maximal length coming into this side of the body. Then I keep that length. In fact, I increase the length as I bring myself back up to Tadasana. Switch the grip of your wrist and your hands and pull up first. Now, as you're pulling up, also really root down through the heel and that side of your body. And do that even more as you tip over to the opposite side. You feel lots of good length coming in the sides of the torso. And then come all the way back to the center, pulling and making yourself still taller. And then release your hands down and stand in Tadasana. And I feel more like from extending and reaching my arms up, I feel a lot more length and opening coming into both sides of the body and all the way up into the armpits. We did Urdhva Badangalyasana while we're sitting, so let's just go ahead and do bound thumb pose now. So hook one thumb over the other thumb and extend through your ring fingers. Let your trapezius release away from the neck as you pull your thumbs against each other and stretch up. Release down with the trapezius and pull up with your fingers. And then keep the height that you created in this overhead work and bring your hands down. Switch the grip of your thumbs and pull your thumbs against each other and stretch through your ring fingers. And then pull all the way up. Check back in at your legs and still make sure you're lifting from the quadriceps from the inner thighs. Keep your trapezius down, but extend through your ring fingers and release your hands down. And interlace your hands behind your back. Keep your elbows bent first and lift up into the armpits. Roll your shoulder bones back, shoulder blades in, away from the neck and into the center of body and up a little bit. Then straighten your arms. And imagine that now someone's got both of your wrists and they're pulling your wrists backward for you so that you can move the side ribs and the shoulder blades in more deeply. Notice which finger you've got on top. Bend your elbows again. Switch the grip of your fingers. Roll the shoulder bones back. Shoulder blades in, away from the neck and into the center of the body. Then stretch your arms straight. Extend back through your wrist bones. And imagine that using your your imagination, imagine that someone's pulling your wrist bones back for you so that the sides of the armpits come forward. Okay? And you can move the shoulder blades more in, away from the neck again, and into the center of the body and up a little bit, and just really feel that opening that comes all the way into the chest. And release your fingers and stretch your arms all the way up into Urdhva Hastasana. And then release your hands down. Right, if you have a long strap or a longer strap, go ahead and get that one, but you can do this with a short, regular strap too. Okay, so Karen said things for the neck. I have been mostly talking about the trapezius. We haven't done this in a while, but I'm pretty sure all of you have done it with me. My strap is unfortunately the same color as my shirt, so let me grab a different strap for a second. You want to put the strap in the lower part of your rib cage. Okay, so that's where the strap is. And then you're going to flip the strap over your trapezius muscles in front and then cross the strap behind you. So that's what I'm going to do, just with the strap that's harder to see. You're going to cross, and then once you've crossed the strap, you're going to pull down, and you're also pulling down, but you're also pulling out a little bit. So what you should feel happens that the collarbones get more lifted and that the trapezius muscle releases a bit away from a lot away from the neck. So when my neck is bothering me, this is one of the first things that I try and do. Now we've talked some about this before, that you can also do the same work, except that you uncross the strap and pull straight down. And so when I do that position, I feel that outer collarbone really get a lot more lifted. But I still have to imagine I had my first strap on and I was crossing at the trapezius muscles. Both feel really good to me. I'm going to do the first one again. When I do the first one again, I move the strap a little bit close. I try to get on the part of my trapezius muscles that feels thick and tight. Okay? So you can put it really close to the neck. You can put it in the middle. Whatever works well for you. So when you pull, you have to pull down mostly, but also pull out a little bit with your hands. Okay, so down, but also out. So that's the first one with the cross. Then uncross the strap behind you. so that the strap moves a little bit more. When I uncross the strap moves a little bit more toward my outer collarbone, almost toward the edge of my shoulder blades. And then I'm going to pull down there. You can unstrap it, uncross it. Good. All right. Then uncross your strap. You're still going to keep your strap on the rib cage, but now just hold on to the strap with your hands. And you have to pull in a little bit so that the strap stays where it is, and then lift up. But what the strap should feel like it's doing is lifting your whole rib cage up for you. And then you can let your buttock muscles release down, and it gives lots of length in the lower back as well. And then release your hands down, bend your knees, put your hands on the floor, lift one hand up at a time if you want to, and then come back into downward facing dog. Adho Mukha Svanasana.
Hey, and in Adho Mukha Shavasana, I'm getting a lot of trapezius pull.
Pull?
Getting so much pressure, like
right there on your shoulders?
Yeah, it's not so
Try
much.
turning your palms out and maybe bringing your hands a little bit wider. You can also put your hands on bricks if that's not enough. Looking good, everyone. Does that help at all, Pratima? Okay. And walk forward till your feet are right underneath your hips. Place your hands on your pelvic bones. Roll your shoulder bones back and come all the way up. And then stand into Tadasana again. All right, now you're gonna take your strap and you're gonna make a loop with the strap. That's a pretty small loop, but big enough to get your arm through it. And we haven't done this in a while. I'm gonna give you a little closer view. And you're gonna find a place at the wall, okay? That you just need a space, not for your whole self right now, but just for your hand, okay? And this is the 3 hands at the wall. Yeah. But when we're gonna do that, see how the strap is on the front of my shoulder. So this should help your shoulder, Pratima Sam. And then with the other hand, I'm gonna pull, okay? So that hopefully the strap moves the shoulder bone back, but also the strap should catch the outer shoulder blade a bit, and it should help you feel that the outer shoulder blade moves in. Right. Then go ahead and stand with your right hand at the wall, with your fingers straight up, and pull on the strap. So it should feel like your trapezius release, that the shoulder blade moves in. Now, the work or the action of the arms is you're not just sinking into the wall with your hands. You're really trying to do downward facing dog actions with your hands. Okay? So from your elbows, extend through the thumb and the first finger, and turn your bicep back toward your tricep, and your tricep tucked toward the screen. And you just keep pulling on that strap. Then turn your fingers back behind you and do that same work. Press through the thumb and the first finger, draw up from the little finger into the outer shoulder, and turn that upper arm like you were doing downward facing dog. And the last one, you turn your fingers down toward the floor. Let your trapezius release away from the neck as you do that, and turn and rotate. So that's called 3 hands at the wall, or I call it that, because you've got 3, not because you have 3 hands, but because you're doing 3 hand positions at the wall, right? That makes sense? Okay. All right, then you have to do the opposite side. So find a place at the wall. I'm just going to my other wall so I can still face you and do the same work. Spread, you can even do that same little trick. Before you just push into the wall, you can actually spread your palm before you place it on the wall. And when I did that, it actually took, on the first side, there was a lot more pressure on my wrist because I forgot to do that spreading before I put my hand down. And again, a lot of this is your own ability to work the rotation of the arm. So it's not just that you're pushing your hand into the wall, okay? But it's really like downward facing dog. So from the elbow, you extend through the thumb and the first finger. From the little finger, you draw up into the outer shoulder. And then you have to turn that upper arm backward, and your tricep, okay, comes forward. Right? And so you really have to, for this to really be maximally effective, you really have to work those actions. Okay? And it's not much to see. Okay? But if you really do all of those downward facing dog things, you'll really feel the shoulder blade and the shoulder bone begin to move and readjust themselves. Then turn your fingers back behind you and do those same actions. And it'll feel different. Just because you've changed the hand position, the actions that you're working on have a different effect. Then turn your fingers down the opposite way, down toward the floor. And really elbow to thumb and first finger, little finger up into the outer shoulder, and then really turn and rotate the upper arm. And then release your hand down, take the strap off, bend your knees, put your hands down on the floor, and do another downward facing dog. And it should feel, after that shoulder blade work, hopefully your downward facing dog will feel even better, more free. And enable the neck to just kind of hang a little bit more freely. All right, keep your arm action strong and come all the way up under the balls of the feet. Lift your quadriceps and your inner thighs, and then push with your hands down and forward as you roll back over the balls of the feet and reach the heels toward the floor. Oh, it feels good. All right, and then walk forward till your feet are right underneath your hips. Place your hands on your pelvic bones. Roll your shoulder bones back and come all the way up. And then stand in Tadasana again. And then just feel the effect. If you can, stand where your back heel is against the wall. You're going to go ahead and do that. Have your strap. And you're going to need at least one brick, but if you have two bricks, it will save you from changing sides. So I've got two bricks right here, and I have my strap. And I've made the loop a little bit bigger. Okay, so I've got the strap on my right shoulder, and I've got the loop a little bit larger, so it's going to hopefully catch some of my rib cage. Like that. Okay. Not an exact science. And I'm holding onto the strap with my left hand. All right. We're basically going toward Parivrtta Trikonasana. Okay. So put your left heel back against the wall and take a big step forward with your right hand. Kristen, you can just do Parsvottanasana, okay, but you can still hold on to the strap. All right. So pull at the strap. And the strap should help you move your rib cage around just even to Parsvottanasana. I know you're holding onto the strap with your hand. Okay. That's totally fine. Okay. Yeah, you want it on your right shoulder for sure. Okay. You're holding onto the strap, but as you turn and bring your hand down toward the brick, pull on the strap for as long as you can. My right hand's on my hip, and then at some point I'm going to let go of the strap and put my left hand on the brick. Level your hips, lengthen through the side ribs in that same way we did sitting, and turn and rotate your torso around to the right. Then reach your right arm straight up toward the ceiling. Press through both heels, lengthen through both side ribs, and turn and rotate yourself around. And then come all the way back up. Okay. And then let's do the second side. So you've got the strap on your left shoulder. Put your right foot heel against the wall and step forward with your left leg. That's Parivrtta Trikonasana. Now first, when you pull the strap forward, it's going to help you get the ribs around like you're going to do Parsvottanasana. Keep your legs action strong and keep turning and rotating, pulling with your strap to help that lower rib cage turn. Now at some point, you can let go of the strap so you can bring your hand and hold on to the brick. Level your hips, extend from the tailbone through the head and turn and rotate. And then if your neck's okay, you can straighten your left arm all the way up toward the ceiling. Press into your back heel, turn and come all the way up, and then stand in Tadasana again. I haven't done that pose in a long time. I, in fact, want to do it one more time. Okay. All right, so switch the strap again. So now you've got the strap on your right shoulder. Put your left hand back, with left heel back on the wall, and take a big step forward with your right leg. Now, when you took that step forward, probably what happened is that the left side of your torso went back toward the wall. Okay. So bring your hips as level as possible. They won't be completely level, but you want to bring that back left hip around. Then pull on the strap to bring your rib cage forward. And this time turn a little bit more in the upright stage. So keep pulling on the strap with your left rib, pull on the strap with your left hand and turn and rotate as much as you can first. Then keep turning even more as you lower yourself down. And this time around, you may be able to go to the floor or at least to a lower brick. Keep lifting up through the quadriceps and the inner thighs. Lengthen from the tailbone for the head and turn and rotate. And then reach your hand all the way up. And then swing yourself up and come back to the center. All right, then we'll do the other side. Okay, so switch your strap one more time. Put your left heel back against the wall and take a big step forward with your right leg. Right heel's back at the wall, left leg's forward. Okay, just this act of stepping, a lot of times the torso and legs move backward. Okay. So bring your hips around till they're almost level. Okay. Then use your strap to bring your rib cage around as much as you can, facing toward the front of the room. And keep pulling on your strap. Okay. And turn in this upright stage first. And you're really accomplishing that by pulling on that strap and really coaxing that rib cage around as much as you can. Right, then go ahead and turn, and you may be able to get a little bit lower, down to the floor, toward a lower brick. It's like your outer hips in and lengthen up from the tailbone through the head and turn and rotate, then stretch your left arm up. And then reach and come all the way up. And then stand into Tadasana again. And just what I'm feeling as I'm standing in my neutral Tadasana here, I'm really feeling a much more heightened awareness of my back body. Yeah. Of the shoulder, of the rib cage, it feels like it's gone in, my shoulder blades have gone in, but as a result, because I'm more aware of that, I also feel a broadening or an expansion across the front of the body. So I've gotten the back body to do more supportive work, and it supports the opening of the front body. And hopefully, and I'm also feeling that there is a lot more freedom and clarity in my neck. All right, that Parivrtta Trikonasana work is really similar to a variation of headstand where you split your legs apart and you turn, okay? And so we're gonna work toward that in the next part of class. Yeah. But just so you can get a sense of what I mean, okay, just stand in Tadasana for a second and go ahead and bring your hands up into headstand position. Turn your triceps from the outside in. And first we're gonna work on upside down Parsvashirsasana. Okay. So you're just gonna turn your torso to the right and then come back to the center and turn your torso to the left. Now, if you were standing on your head would stay stable and the rest of the body would be turning. Okay, so it's not quite the same thing, but you get the general idea. Right? Okay, so look at what finger you have on top and switch the grip of your fingers and put the fingers back on your head and move your elbows in. And then turn and rotate to the right. Just like we're doing sitting, turn and rotate to the left. Back to the center. And then bring your hands down. Now bring your left foot back at the wall again and your right foot forward. Okay. Bring your torso around. Interlace your fingers, put them behind your head. Okay. Then you're going to turn toward your front leg. Okay. So this is upside down, Parivrita Ekapada Shirshasana. And I can really feel that talking to the rib cage quite nicely. Yeah. All right, then come back to the center. Switch the cross of your feet, what do you call them, fingers, but also put your right heel back toward the wall. Bring your pelvis around as much as you can. Pretend that you still had that strap on your rib cage to help it turn. And then turn and rotate toward your front leg. Oh, that feels really good, at least to me. Bring yourself back to the center. Bring your feet together. Bend your knees, put your hands on the floor, and come back into a downward facing dog again. You know, hopefully after all the additional twisting and the standing pose, the downward facing dog, hopefully you're feeling that there is additional extension in your downward facing dog. Also, this downward facing dog is preparing you to do headstand by getting your head lower than your heart. Then walk forward till your feet are right underneath your hips. Place your hands on your pelvic bones. Roll your shoulder bones back and come all the way up. Before we do headstand, we're going to do a Prasarada Padottanasana with all the various hand positions. Right? Then we're going to do Pada Hastasana, where we put our hands underneath our feet, and then we're going to go for the headstand and the variations. Okay, so that's the general plan. So stand with your feet wide apart. Lift your quadriceps and your inner thighs. Place your hands on your hips. You know, the first stage of Prasarada Padottanasana in the book, it's almost like a pretty giant back bend. Well, not giant, but it's pretty big. So when he has his hands on his hips and roll your shoulders back, do your shoulder blade actions and look up toward the ceiling. And as you're looking up toward the ceiling, take those shoulder blades in and feel maximum lengthening from the pubic region all the way up to the collarbone. And keeping your legs strong, keeping the sides of the torso long, fold forward and bring your hands all the way down to the floor, first just underneath your shoulders. You can do the little extension of your hand in the air element if you want to. It's really very helpful. All right, then keep that same extension from the pubis all the way up through the crown of the head of the front body. Turn your shoulder bones like you were doing that 3 hands at the wall position. Observe the effect. Just keep your awareness mostly on your shoulder bones and shoulder blades. Then do the second hand position, like we were doing 3 hands at the wall. You're just doing 3 hands in Prasarada Padottanasana. And when I do that, I really feel the top outer shoulder blade draw in a little bit more. Then go with the hand position with your fingers straight back behind you. And feel how the shoulder bones turn in even more. And I feel a little bit more the middle of my shoulder blade comes in a little bit more readily in this hand position. All right, and then turn your fingers back straight in the line of the toes, and then reestablish that extension through the front of the body. Then move your hands back where they're in line with your feet, and the same thing, extend from the pubis all the way through the crown of the head. And then bend forward and put your head down on the floor. Lift your shoulder bones up. So right now you're in a position that is called, in terms of your head and your hands, it's called Shirshasana 2. Flip your fingers back the opposite way and lift your shoulders up. That's the beginning of what's called Shirshasana 3. Then walk your hands in as close together as you can and put your elbows together and lift your shoulders up. That's called Shirshasana 3, the completed pose if we were in headstand. Then stretch your arms back behind you with your palms going up toward the ceiling and lift your shoulders up. And that's called Mukha Hasta in Shirshasana because your hands are free. Then hold on to your ankles with your hands. Pull up on your ankles and lift your shoulders up. And feel that broadness that comes in the collarbones, and hopefully you'll feel a release in the neck. And then just come back out of the pose, going through the concave stage. Bring your hands back to your shoulders. Bring your feet a little bit closer together, and then you're gonna come all the way back up. Does anyone have any questions about any of those hand positions and your head? It's Shirshasana 2, Shirshasana 3. You bring your elbows together and move to Hasta, okay? Eventually you work up to being able to do all of that in headstand. Okay. We're not gonna do all of that in headstand today, don't worry. All right, okay. But what I wanna do now is a Pada Hastasana. I learned this way of doing Pada Hastasana from my teacher, Lori. And it's very helpful to have a blanket. So I've just got a, Iyengar yoga referred to as a bookfold blanket, and I'm putting it down. Then I have a brick. Now I want to give a large caveat about what we're doing here, okay? And that is, don't tip forward, okay? Don't do a somersault forward as we're doing this work, particularly if there are hard objects that you might fall into. Okay? So, but you're going to stand on the blanket with both of your feet. You're going to fold forward and put your right hand on the brick for stability. Then lift your left toe, ball of the foot up, and put your left hand underneath your foot as much as you can. Then don't tip forward, but you want to push the ball of the foot into the ball of the big toe base joint. Then again, without falling forward, see if you can actually lift your heel up and wiggle a little bit more of your toes toward the heel. And then spread your thumb and your first finger away from each other. And you're in control about how much pressure you want to put on your hand. But for me, it feels really good. And release your hand out from underneath you. And then you have to do the second side. So move the brick to the left side, and that's just really there for support. Lift your right foot up, so you're on your heel now, and move your hand underneath the foot as much as possible. Spread your fingers, but then you can actually kind of lift your heel up a little bit and walk your foot a little bit more up onto the hand, and it enables you to get your fingers almost underneath your heels. And then push down to the amount that feels good to you. And then release that hand. So what I've been doing that pretty regularly, but what I've been noticing when I do that work is that then when I go into headstand, the way that my hands hold onto the head is actually more relaxed. So I've really spread the palms out, and so then when I interlace my fingers, it's like more of my palm is engaged in the Shirshasana action. Whereas sometimes it's like we kind of cup the hands and grip the head, but because we really just worked on spreading the palms open, that's hopefully for you going to result in a really nice feeling Shirshasana, okay?
And how far is your hand underneath your foot?
As far as you can get it.
Okay.
And that, yeah, it's a good question. So it's, what I try and do, it's kind of hard to show, but here, let me try and get something I can rest my foot on. So here's my foot, right? So that's my pada. And I'm really trying to get as much of my hand underneath my foot as I can. So for me, what I try to do is get the ball of the big toe to match the base joint of the thumb. Okay. And the other thing that really works with me for this is, you know how we're in the air element and we spread the thumb and the first finger? That really helps also. Okay. Some of it will also depend on your, how big your hands and your feet are. Okay. But usually people who have big feet have big hands. And so it probably will all even out in the same thing. So before we do Shirshasana, let's try that again and try doing it with both hands. Okay, or you can repeat one hand at a time. So stand on your blanket again. Have your feet be about hip width apart. And then stick your right hand underneath your right foot as much as you can. And that little wiggling of the heel up, as one last class I took with Lori, she added that little piece that I had never heard. I've also been taught, it's a good question, that eventually you can actually put your big toe on one side of your wrist and your other toes on the other side of the wrist. And then you push down, but again, you don't want to topple forward. And so as you're bringing your weight more forward into the balls of the feet, make sure that you're not actually going to do a somersault. Then release your hands and stand up. Okay, we're going to do Shirshasana, or whatever you do when Shirshasana comes around. But those of you doing Shirshasana, we're going to do it against the wall. Well, if you need the support of the wall, you can do all three of these variations against the wall. So I'm going to demonstrate that, how that goes. And then you can make a decision about if you want to just do a headstand prep, if you want to do headstand against the wall, or if you want to do all that in the center of the room. So you come into Shirshasana, and you'll stay here for a little while. Enjoy the feeling of your nice hand grip. Then you can do Parshva Shirshasana against the wall. And then you can split your legs and do Parivrita Shirshasana against the wall. Okay? Or you can do all that in the middle of the room. And it's Shirshasana. Keep your shoulders lifted and turned. That's called Parshva Shirshasana. Then the leg that's against the wall goes backward, and the leg that's away from the wall goes forward. You split your legs and turn more. Okay? Or you can do all that in the middle of the room if you don't need the support of the wall. Okay? It's a little different approach in the middle of the room because you split your legs first and then turn. Okay? But I'll talk you through all of that. All right, so go into whatever you're going to do when Shirshasana comes around.
Okay.
And that can be downward facing dog, that can be Shirshasana prep, whatever you want to do. And come into Shirshasana. Press your forearms down, lift your shoulders up, all the things you know how to do, extend up through the inner heels. Now, if you are attempting any of the variations, you want to really make sure that you're keeping yourself well lifted up through the shoulders. There's Karen. And now squeeze your legs together, and then you're going to turn to the right. So you're going to move your right hip toward the wall and your left hip away from the wall if you're at the wall, or you just turn in the middle of the room. Keep lifting your shoulders up. Vicky, your feet are going a little bit behind you. Okay. Pratima, you're shifting your legs a little bit too much to the right. That looks good, Melinda. Good. Amelia, that looks really good. Guys, and then you can split your legs. Okay. If you're doing it in the middle of the room, you can do the same kind of action. So the leg that's at the wall goes back, other leg, Bob. The leg that's at the wall goes back, and the leg that's away from the wall goes forward. And then as you turn, you can actually move your back leg away from the wall, and that will help you turn more. All right, then bring your legs back together. You okay? All right, and then you're gonna try and do the other side, but if you can't keep your shoulders lifted, you can come down. So you have to turn straight first. So you get a little bit, your hips are shifting to the left too much. Turn in Parshva Shirshasana first. Move your legs more toward the midline, Vicky. That's better on this side, Pratima. Good, Amelia, good, Melinda. Now when you split the leg that is touching the wall, that goes back behind you. And the leg that's away from the wall goes forward. Then once you've got the leg split, if you can actually move your back leg away from the wall and your front leg toward the wall, that helps you turn your spine. All right, good job. Then come back to the center. There you go. Even everything out. And then go ahead and come down and rest in downward facing child's pose. Adho Mukha Virasana. So, that's a pretty hard pose.
I agree.
But if you think about the pose in terms of our sequence, it's really just made up of all the different kind of easier poses that we did, starting way back in turning and Parshva Swastikasana, right? Think about Upavishta Konasana with the legs being split and us turning, right? think about Parivrita Trikonasana. Okay? And all of that plants seeds and awareness in your body for one day doing Parivrita Ekapada Shirshasana. So even if you're not at that final peak pose, know that you participated along the way, and so many things that are preparing the mind and the body to do that more complicated work. Okay. All right, that was a pretty long stay in Shirshasana. So what we are going to do is get 2 bricks, and we're going to do brick Paryankasana with the brick in the middle of your rib cage or shoulder blades, and 1 brick for your head. If your legs can manage to do Virasana, you should put your legs in Virasana. If you can't do Virasana, you can put your legs straight ahead. Kirsten, you could do this, Kirsten, but if it feels a little bit too intense, you can use a bolster and just do Supta Virasana. All right, so I'm in my Virasana, move my butt sitting bones to the floor, put the brick between my shoulder blades, and then I put my head on the brick.
Brick spine-wise, I didn't see.
Do what?
Brick spine-wise?
I have mine spine-wise, yes.
Thank you.
But now that you mentioned that, I'm gonna try it the other way. Yeah, I like spine-wise better, personally. If this one works. I am noticing as I'm here in brick Paryankasana that we did not do a lot to open the front groin in this particular class, except for the back leg of Parivrita Trikonasana. So you may be feeling like, ooh, my quadriceps feel like they're getting a good stretch, which is fine. But yeah, it's spine-wise brick support. Should be taking your thoracic spine in, and that should help you release any tension that may have creeped into the neck while you were doing all of those variations. But I have to say, in terms of neck work, for me, Parjva Shirshasana and Parivrita Shirshasana both really release tension in my neck. And I think it's because of the way that they release the thoracic spine. All right, then come forward to your hands and your knees, turn your toes under, and push back one more time into downward facing dog. And this downward facing dog is really for opening the backs of the knees. All right, then go ahead and walk forward till your feet are underneath your hips, all of that. Go ahead and come up, and go ahead and make your shoulder stand set up. But we are going to do brick Setu Bandha first. Okay, actually we're going to do Chatush Padasana and brick Setu Bandha first. So you want to arrange things so that you have space to, you don't need your mat or anything for brick Setu Bandha. If you have a second mat, you could set it up. But go ahead and make your shoulder stand set up. And your brick Setu Bandha set up. If you don't do shoulder stand, you could make your chair shoulder stand set up. And if you don't do that, even after we do the Chatush and the Setu Bandha work, you can go ahead and go into legs up the wall pose. Okay. So that's what everyone's going to do. The Chatush, the brick Setu Bandha, and then we're going to go for Sarvangasana. Okay. All right. So go ahead and lie down on the floor. Okay. We'll make your setup. I'll give you a couple more minutes to make another minute to make your setup. Okay, then lie down on the floor. You could actually even do it on your shoulder stand setup if you wanted to, but I like to do it flat on the floor more. So you're gonna lie down on your back, bring your feet up in close to your buttocks, hold on to the sides of the sticky mat with your hands, press your feet down and lift your buttocks up high. Now when you do that, that engages the hamstring and the buttocks, and you should feel a nice opening coming into your front groin. and tuck your shoulders underneath you. Pull the sticky mat toward your feet and move your chest toward your chin. It won't touch, but it moves that way. And feel your shoulder blades on your back. And interlace your fingers underneath your buttocks and tuck your shoulders more and pull your fingers toward your feet, and you'll feel even more of the shoulder blades go in. Then notice which finger you have on top. I've got my left finger on top. Release your hands and lower yourself down to the floor, but try not to untuck your shoulders. And then we're going to repeat that, but switch the grip of the fingers. Okay. So press your feet down and lift your buttocks up. Hold on to the sides of the sticky mat first if that works for you. Okay. Then, keeping your hips, the hamstrings and the buttocks going, tuck your shoulders underneath you and pull the sticky mat toward your feet, and you'll feel the shoulder blades move in more. And interlace your fingers the opposite way. Tuck your shoulders more, pull your fingers toward your feet and move your shoulder blades in. And that feels very good on my own neck. Okay. And then release and come down. All right, so that physically prepares the body to do shoulder stand quite nicely, but energetically in terms of the feeling in the head, it's not quite the same thing. Okay. But when we go to brick Setu Bandha, and the brick, Vicky, can be either spine-wise or against the spine. It's really up to you, okay, which feels better. They both have they're both good. They just have slightly different effects. You're gonna put, I'm using the horizontal brick personally. And then you're gonna put the brick underneath, right on your sacrum. Then tuck your shoulders, bend your elbows and move your fingertips toward the ceiling. Push your upper arms into the floor and you'll feel your chest open and there's release in the neck. Now to make this be even more like shoulder stand, move your feet together if you can. If you want to straighten them out, you can also do that. But take your awareness to your shoulder blades. And as you turn your palms to face toward your head side, see how that brings you more onto the top of the shoulders, hopefully, and it takes the shoulder blades in a little bit more. And then just notice the different sensation in your brain when you have the support of the brick. And that's the shoulder stand head feeling. Okay? We get a little bit more Jalandhara Bandha. All right, then release your hands, release your brick, lower yourself down, and then go ahead and set up for shoulder stand. Well, you've already set up for shoulder stand because I planned that. So now you can just go into shoulder stand. And hopefully, since you've already pre-done your shoulder stand setup, you'll be able to get into it pretty quickly while your body is still really maintaining the good work and preparation that we did in Chatushpadasana and Setu Bandha. I'm just grabbing my glasses so I can observe you. And if you don't do shoulder stand, totally fine. You can do legs up the wall pose, all right? Or chair shoulder stand. Just something that gets you in the shoulder stand clan of things. And what makes something a shoulder stand clan of things is that position of the chin going toward the chest and your chest being really nice and lifted. Okay? And that is called Jalandhara Bandha. So things like Chatushpadasana, Setu Bandha, chair shoulder stand, legs up the wall pose. Particularly if your buttocks are elevated in legs up the wall pose, it's going to be a little bit more like the shoulder stand feeling. Oh, Vicky, that looks great. All of that work really worked in terms of getting your hands lower on your back. That looks good, Marcia. Good, Pratima. Amelia, bring your legs a little bit back toward the window as opposed to the door. There you go. You got it. That looks good, Melinda. That's a nice handstand, Sugi.
Scoot down, scoot down, scoot down.
I know what you mean.
This way.
Yeah, the shoulders have to be on the blanket. Head has to be on the floor.
Okay.
Oh, it's a pretty long hold, Sugi. It's good. Bob, if you can get your hands a little bit lower on your back, you may need to come into Halasana and tuck your shoulders more and see if you can get your hands more down towards your shoulder blades. Straighten your legs a little bit. And that's fine, Pratima, but then can you take like one leg off the wall, then maybe the other leg off the wall? Vicky, this is like the best shoulder stand I've ever seen you do. It's really good. It's really completely straight up and down. It's a nice setup there, Marcia. I'm sure the people I can't see are also doing excellent jobs, so I exhort you into doing what you're doing.
That's it.
Yeah, but you have that look at me. I'm gonna look at me. And then you could do this at the wall.
Now you can in Sarvangasana, it's not in light and yoga, but you can actually turn like you're in Parshvashirshasana and Sarvangasana, and it also feels very nice on the back. So if you want to try that upright turning, you can.
Put your legs back.
And then you can go back to the other side.
Bring your hip up.
Good, nice. And I really like how that feels myself. And yeah, if you want to, Melinda, you can do the split leg one too. Okay, so you can bring one leg forward and the other leg back, okay, like we were doing in Shirshasana, and then you would turn toward the front leg side. Well, you bring the front leg toward the back leg side is what I mean. All right, and so if you want to try that, that's great. If you could get that back leg, Karen, further down toward the floor, it would be, yeah, there you go. That's it. Yep, and then you turn. Good. All right, and then finish up what you're doing, roll out of the pose, and then just take a few moments of breathing after you come out of Sarvangasana so that you can experience the joy and the effect of Sarvangasana, and then set up for Shavasana of your choice. If you want some support under your head, feel free to take it. If you want some support under your legs, feel free to take it. If you want a blanket roll underneath your neck, feel free to take it. Just do whatever is going to facilitate your Shavasana. All right, then settle into Shavasana, or a couple of you I see chose legs up the wall pose, which is also fine. And once you settle in, make whatever adjustments in your skin that you need to, like moving the skin of the skull away from the neck, and tuck your trapezius away from the neck. Move the skin of your back body toward your feet. Gay and Cliff's dog is giving Cliff adjustments in Shavasana. It's very cute. All right, let your eyes release into the back of your head. Let your tongue release away from the roof of your mouth. Unclench your jaw. Let the back of the throat release. Let the sides of the throat release. Let the base of the throat release. Let your ears draw inward. Completely relax the features of your face. Become quiet within. Patanjali says that yoga is the practice of stilling the fluctuations of the mind. He goes on to say that when that happens, we come to dwell in the seat of our own true splendor. Be in that space. Abide there. That's the aim of yoga. Is absorption with the true self. And from that still space within, inhale. Consciously using your inhalations to infuse that awareness of your true self in every cell of your being. I often say use it to bring that awareness of your true self with you as you go about your work in the world. And it looks like they called the race for Biden. So bend your knees. Place your hands on your rib cage, roll your shoulder bones back, and come all the way up. Sit up straight and tall. Lift your chest well. Close your eyes and fold your palms together at your heart. In gratitude to the benefit you receive from your practice of yoga. In gratitude to the people that you have the opportunity to learn and study and practice yoga with. And in gratitude to the lineage of Hatha Yoga itself, as practiced by V.K.S. Iyengar, reaching back to the sages of India, and down through a line of teachers and students to you, here on the mat in Austin, Texas, or wherever you happen to be in the world. Namaste.